Our next speaker is, it's unfortunate how me and him were introduced, but since then, it's been a pleasure working with him. Some of the things that he has done for this organization is phenomenal, and I can't say enough, from the bottom of my heart, from my family, from ARCHway, how much your support and your passion behind this field to change this too has helped us and helped, Matt did not die in vain. He did not. I promise you he didn't. So, next is Don Willey.
Thank you all for being here tonight. This means so much to see this room filled. I want you to know next year we can actually hold about 350 in here. So what are we tonight, Kip? 220, 210? So we got a little work to do. But thanks for all being here, and thanks for sharing all of your experiences and pain and working through this. Dan gave me the assignment to explain how ARCHway helped educate and bring awareness to the Laborers Union in St. Louis. And it's a personal story for me, as John alluded to. I came to ARCHway through my son Matt, who was struggling with sobriety while staying at the recovery house on Humphrey Street in South St. Louis. Relapses are common with the mental illness of heroin addiction, and they are as serious as a heart attack with similar results. After 7 days in the ICU, Matt's mom and I took him off the ventilator to start his new life with God on March 29th of 2016. A few weeks after, I went down to the recovery house to collect Mac's things, and I met with John Stuckey, and I started asking my usual 20 questions. Why does this house exist? Who's funding it? What's the structure of the treatment? And I'm sure John felt like he was under interrogation. Some call it asocial behavior. I think I'm normal. So I pressed on and learned that Aaron Beatty, a friend of Matt, down here, in recovery, a super guy, super family, got his family back, got his kids back, and I love to see him grow. Aaron brought Matt to the recovery house. Aaron found his sobriety in a similar house in California. Aaron also worked with John in getting the Humphrey house going. Recovering addicts, helping people struggling with sobriety to find a new way of life. That made sense to me. I was looking for a cause to help with this deadly mental illness. And I thought, everyone needs a second chance. Some need more second chances than others. I knew there were members from all the unions in St. Louis dealing with this epidemic. A recovery house or funding to get treatment is exactly what this community needs. After meeting with Dan and Jan Stuckey, I was confident that ARCHway was providing a very valuable service. I was also impressed on how ARCHway collaborates with other groups in fighting this epidemic. ARCHway's model is very adaptable to replicate in other cities, and that impressed me. So the Laiuna Local 110 Executive Board also believes in second chances that ARCHway provides. And I am honored to tell you that since the start of ARCHway and Local 110's sharp relationship, the members have approved donations of more than $35,000. us for the union and for the unions. When I wanted to look into how the Laborers Health and Welfare Fund was dealing with addiction issues with our members, ARCHway was there. Percy Menzies spent more than 2 hours talking with the board members about the mental illness of addiction. When the Labor Tribune, the major labor newspaper in town and in the United States, was running stories on how the heroin epidemic was affecting union members and their families throughout St. Louis, John Stuckey was there to talk to the reporters. When John Gall and Tom Finan of the St. Louis Construction Forum wanted to highlight opioid abuse in the construction industry, ARCHway was there. Percy and I gave presentations at their monthly meeting. When the LIUNA Midwest Regional Health and Safety Department put on a 2-day conference titled Combating Opioid Abuse in a Drug-Free Workplace, Percy Menzies, John Stuckey, and Brian Stevie were there to help plan and present at the conference. The locals' journey with ARCHway has also put us in contact with other groups in this market that are dealing with this crisis. Howard Weissman, Director of NCADA National Coalition of Alcohol and Drug Addiction. They run the Super Bowl ads on heroin addiction that you see, and they educate over 75 schools a year in preventing of addiction, talking about addiction prevention with kids from K to high school. Robert Riley of Clayton Behavioral Clinics and Director of Missouri Networks works to change the laws dealing with addiction. St. Louis County Detective Casey Lambert, who leads CRUSH, Community Resources United to Stop Heroin Addiction. They take the county health department resources, they take whatever resources they can, because our police, whether it's city or county, they're the first social responders on a job. So they're working to be better social responders. And you know, I can't say enough about them. Joe Brennan, Local 110 Labor, who runs the Hope Group at St. Anthony's Highland Center on Monday nights, 7 p.m. A support group for parents and family members dealing with addiction to loved ones. Mary Ann Lemons, who runs GRASP, Grief Recovery After Substance Passing. This group meets on Sunday evenings at 5 p.m. over at the Concordia Lutheran Church Library at 505 South Kirkwood. ARCHway shows up to get the work done for people dealing with the mental illness of addiction. Our society wants to deny their very existence. ARCHway is their voice for truth and hope.
According to government data, heroin deaths in America now outpace gun homicides. Think about that for a second. More people in this country die of a heroin overdose than die at the hands of guns. With all this talk about the heroin epidemic here in Missouri, we thought as a chance to tell the story again, and I don't think it can be told enough because we are headed for a disaster and nobody wants to talk about it. Here in studio with us is John Stuckey. Also with us here is Sunil Menzies, who helps run ARCA. Welcome, Big 550 KTRS. How bad of a problem is it? I mentioned there are more people dying of heroin than gun deaths, which is a marker which is would have been unheard of 5 years ago. How bad is the heroin epidemic here in the St. Louis metropolitan area?
It's the worst it's ever been. I mean, last year they're saying some 437 reported deaths, right? That's reported deaths. This is one of the worst epidemics we've seen that now has broken down every barrier that we think, whether we're going down to East St. Louis or you're going to the most influential families.
So there's not a zip code that isn't affected by this?
No, and it's driven by price and availability. It's driven by the idea that we could go, I'm sure, half a mile from here, John, in any direction, and within a few minutes, we could probably pick it up. There's
a stigma to saying you're a heroin addict, especially when you're a young, vibrant kid from a very upper middle class, maybe upper, top tier family. You don't talk about heroin addiction, which is half the problem.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people, dying in their basements. It's because they're not coming out and talking about it. The families, are too ashamed to come out and discuss it with others.
The parents were lying to their friends.
Correct.
How their sons and daughters died because of the stigma of heroin.
Correct.
So you might know a friend who smokes marijuana, but you might not know a friend who's shooting heroin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And eventually, their parents, their friends, their husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, they stop supporting. They think it's a lost cause. They cut them off. They send them on their way, and that's where they end up. We go out to the community and we do these events, and no one publicly is talking about it. But then all of a sudden, as soon as the event's over, we start getting text messages, we start getting phone calls, we start getting emails.
Donna Whiteley, you are a counselor, and you see young people from all walks of life.
I do. And I find that's one of the things about ARCHway. They do the financial thing. They step up. They're not just talking about it, but also they show up. They show up in the emergency rooms. They show up in the ICU units when people are with their loved ones at the last minute. Through all of that, a lot of the people that are now involved with ARCHway are involved because ARCHway showed up at that time when you are just totally devoid of any kind of emotion, of any kind of energy, of any kind of strength. And even if it's not possible for my loved one, we're going to save somebody.
So we've talked about this for years, and it goes back to Donna's point. ARCHway shows up. John practices what he preaches, that it's not an acute... This disease is not about using a drug. It is because it freaks people out, and it's what kills you, and it's what makes you sick. This disease is about people being able to say, I'm emotionally healthy. And so John understands that being emotionally healthy is a battle for all of us on a daily basis. And in an effort to make sure that he puts a gap between himself and this drug that scares the hell out of everyone, he continues to practice what he preaches, that this is a long-term chronic illness, just like diabetes, hypertension, cancer, or those types.
At the end of the day, it's, you have to be willing to stop, and that's the first step. And once you're willing to stop, getting on the right medications for it, Suboxone, methadone, those types of things. I never took that obsession away for me. The door was always still open. I got on that Vivitrol shot, and it finally gave me a chance, at least, because it protected me and closed all those doors, that I could have a chance to have some clarity.
People are always asking what they can do to assist ARCHway or help those struggling with addiction. For one, by making a financial contribution on their behalf, or get involved in some sort of outreach or community events that are going on. Also, educate yourself and the people around you on not only the disease of addiction, but resources and treatment centers that are available in your area.
Thank you. I'll close with two comments. This epidemic needs a brand to break the stigma of mental illness and addiction. Some people have displayed small act of courage by dumping ice water on their heads, wearing a red ball on their nose for a day, or wearing pink and marching 5 miles. We need to think about branding. Try it out on social media, share your ideas. Let's find a brand for this epidemic. Second thought, I wanted to look up stigma and as Google would have it, a mark of disgrace associated with a particular circumstance, quality, or a person. So that led me to grace. The free and unmerited favor of God. I contend that disgrace is an act of man. Have the courage to use this free and unmerited favor of God to take back the power to do the work of grace. Helping people who are struggling with the mental illness of addiction, that is doing the work of God's grace. That is the work of ARCHway. The ARCHway Institute thanks you for your friendship and your grace. Thank you.